if we were small, we would have none of those problems. But it's a function of being big and having good stuff. You do lose a little bit of faith. And so it's been an exciting couple of years. Over on the game side, all kinds of stuff going on, but we'll get into that. We're not sitting still. You have to take it, like all CPOs should do this. Why didn't we come up with that game? What did we miss? Crazy Time and our brands are going to live on for a long, long time. I think, Crazy Time is the new Blackjack. We have way more Crazy Time players than we have Blackjack players.
This podcast is sponsored by Pragmatic Solutions, the player account management platform chosen by today's smart betting and gaming operators. Don't let technical constraints delay you from achieving your business goals. Expand your business, boost your margins, and dominate the market in any leading regulated jurisdiction with our powerful, flexible, and secure iGaming platform. Enjoy its extensive marketing tools, compliance protection, real-time data, and a wide portfolio of over 1,000 industry providers. It's time to upgrade your technology. Let Pragmatic Solutions show you the modern approach. Visit pragmatic.solutions and join the smart thinkers.
This podcast is brought to you by Pragmatic Play, a leading game developer providing player favorites to the most successful brands across the industry. With an award-winning multi-product portfolio of slots, live casino, bingo, virtual sports, and more, Pragmatic Play is powering up new possibilities of play through one single API. Visit pragmaticplay.com and discover your favorite every time.
Han Solo and Chewbacca. Mulder and Scully. Peanut butter and jelly. Thelma and Louise. Todd and Pierre. They tried to break us apart, Todd.
Here we are again. Yes.
How are you doing?
It's good to be back. It's good to be back on the pod.
Yeah.
I'm doing great. I'm doing really great. You?
Right, I can't complain here. Big time. We managed to get the big dogs with us here, Todd. You came all the way from the US, no?
I'm super excited. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you're based in Vegas these days, no?
Vegas, yeah. I'm back and forth all the time. I mean, I'm in Malta constantly. I'm in Sweden, Latvia, kind of all over. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
so I wake up earlier, have my meetings with all the Europeans.
Right.
It's great. And it's funny how much activity there is in Vegas to do, actually. How many people just kind of come through there, different endeavors.
Yeah.
You end up, it is still sort of in many ways the intellectual capital of the gaming universe. Yeah. And so being around it, meeting with people from Aristocrat or different companies and talking with them and asking, what do you see out there? And it's more useful than I thought. I'm delighted to be back.
Right. Is it strange to be kind of separated from the team, right? They are mostly based in Europe, your team, like when it comes to product development?
Pretty well. They're scattered all around. If I had done the move back in like 2017 or 18 or 19, it would have been a big deal.
Difficult, yeah.
Now, COVID, we all learned how to work remotely, and then the company has grown so much that we have kind of developers everywhere. So we have people in Portugal and in Poland and Latvia and Estonia, and they're kind of scattered. And so no matter what, even if I'm in Malta, I'm still on video calls all day long. Yeah. And so same thing. I'm just on video calls from a different location.
Yeah. So last podcast we did, Todd, it was around 2 years ago. We did a deep dive in Evo. A lot of things happens in 2 years in the gambling industry. It's kind of like dog years. Almost 1 year in our world is like 7 years. It's like 7 times faster. So talk to me about what happened in these last 2 years since we saw each other last time.
When I think about it's interesting because you always dream about like being a big company and all that sort of stuff. And I love being a big company. We can, as a product guy, we can have the most impact on the industry from evolution than anywhere. And so I love that. We can do big deals with companies like Hasbro and stuff. But what surprises me, and you don't really learn in business school, is the negative attention that you get as a function of being huge.
Oh my God, it's pretty
and
crazy.
So it's just like it's surprising, you catch attention because people want to steal your product, right? I don't mean just copy it. Copying it, I always say the only thing worse than people copying our product is nobody wants to copy it.
Copying is a sincere form of flattery.
Yeah, but stone cold stealing, if you have the best product in Asia, you get cybercrime. Louis Vuitton has the same problem. People want to copy their stuff as well. Yeah. It's a function of having the best stuff. But you don't really think about that. And that's kind of been an interesting journey. You catch the attention. People will compete with you. Other companies will compete with you, not on product or price, which is what you think happens in business school, but by trying to harpoon you by writing a near 200-page report full of lies, and then they'll give a copy of it to Bloomberg and a copy of it to a regulator, and then sidetrack your whole company for years. And you say, well, who is it? And then they hide behind a law firm, hide behind another company, an Israeli company that's designed to get information, all this. And then finally you find out, and it's Playtech. And so it's been an exciting couple of years. Over on the game side, all kinds of stuff going on, but we'll get into that. We're not sitting still.
It feels like you're entering the villain arc a little bit today. It's almost like do you lose a little bit the faith in humanity to some extent, having to go through all of this?
It's a fair question. I mean, like I said, it's a function of being big. If we were small, we would have none of those problems. But it's a function of being big and having good stuff. You do lose a little bit of faith. Like I said, you kind of come up, you have an impression of how the world works, and you don't expect that a company is going to hide behind a law firm and say, hey, switch industries. Say someone went to the Food and Drug Administration and they said this company is poisoning their food, and you should look into it. And then they give a copy to the media, and it's like it's quite a distracting endeavor. And it's like you can do it, you can compete. I mean, but it's super dark. It's rough on everybody. I mean, how can you have functioning public markets if at any time you can have something like that? And our stock reflected the news immediately when it happened. So I'm hardly losing faith. Remember, we're talking about it, but I spend all my time inventing new games and thinking about the future. And my North Star is the players and player experiences and all that.
Yeah. And maybe a learning from these couple of years when you have been attacked left, right, and center. There's been other short-selling reports as well outside of what you mentioned now. It's almost like the business have to defend itself to the point where it shows the world that you are not going to be trampled over. And I think maybe from my perspective outside, it felt like in the beginning when these kind of attacks started happening, that Evo maybe didn't know exactly how to respond exactly from a PR perspective and legal perspective. But now you're at the point where anyone attacking Evo, you attack right back, and the Playtech case is a good example of that, right? Like it's difficult to try to run over Evo at this point. Is that a big learning, do you think, from these couple of years to kind of stand your ground in that regard?
It's interesting to hear your perspective on that, because nobody's a closer industry observer than you, and for you to sort of say early Evo was more passive in its defense, and current Evo is hypervigilant or aggressive in its defense. So I like to hear that. We turned 20 this year, by the way.
Happy birthday.
Well, thanks. Yeah. So in year one, you're certainly not ready for media blitzes and attacks and this sort of stuff. And so, and when you're a fast-growing company, it takes kind of all hands on deck to just be focused on growth and keeping up and trying to hire 1,000 people a month and got people in, people out, new jurisdictions, building new studios, and you're busy and you never kind of stop and build a core competency and defending yourself in the public square or something like that. So I think it's probably been trial by fire. Again, I get to sidestep most of that sort of stuff, but I like your assessment. I'm happy to hear that. Yeah, we're fighting back, right? We got lawsuits here because these people wronged us. We got lawsuits over here because these people wronged us. And if somebody wrongs us, now hopefully people get the message.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that is that is like the dog eat dog world, especially in certain parts of the world where a company needs to be
I wish it
prepared
wasn't. I wish it was just a simple business about, you make games, whoever entertains the players the best gets to win. And I wish it was that simple, but it's a good, big, dynamic world out there.
So I'm curious to hear, what is the current status in the whole Playtech saga now? Obviously, it came down to, as you pointed out before, this dossier came out a few years ago that attacked Evo and its practices. That turned out, by the regulator side, they kind of brushed this aside, obviously, and after many court cases, it then was revealed eventually that Playtech was behind this dossier. And Evo has come out pretty strong to say that, we want to hold this company accountable. What is the end goal with this court case, and where is it right now? What is the current status?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm chief product officer, not chief legal officer, but so I suppose it's somewhere in the court system. We're absolutely suing them, and I guess it's a civil suit, right? I mean, we're going after them as aggressively as we can. I mean, I don't think we're going to go into it and sort of give our attorneys the instructions like go at level 3 out of 10. There's no reason to be aggressive here. I don't think those are going to be our instructions. No. I don't know that to be the case. I'm not necessarily in those meetings, but we want justice. It's crazy that that's the state of our industry. It's a sad thing. I mean, it was almost impossible to even find out who did it because there was layers, and you go to the court, and then they say, okay, you have to tell Evolution who it is, and then they appeal, and then you go back and forth, and then it's like, and then they tell you, and then they say, well, okay, but who hired Black Cube? Well, we're not going to tell you who hired Black Cube. Okay, back to court again. It eats up so many court resources, and this is time, and it's a lot of money. And if you're a smaller company, you'd face a real issue about can you eat the costs? And but now we're there. Yeah. Now we got a name. Everybody was guessing. You guys did a lot of great reporting on it, and it's going to go to court. And,
I mean, presumably after this dossier was released, the share price tanked. It wiped off billions of Evolution's market cap, and presumably, I would imagine that those are the type of damages that Evo would be seeking back. But then that translates to, wait a minute, like Playtech's market cap is kind of those ranges, like the entire market cap of Playtech. It seems almost like.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the exact numbers, but I mean, I think probably if you just say like that week or whatever, our stock probably dropped. 4 Playtechs or 5 Playtechs or something, right? So, but I don't know how the damages and all that stuff works. I'm not sure. But I hope we're going for more than just lunch money. I mean, I was wronged. I'm a shareholder.
So Todd, so in the last couple of years, a lot of headache, a lot of negativity in that regard from competitors and even regulators to some extent as well. The growth have somewhat stalled in Evo. I took note now in the latest few quarterly reports. You're reporting flat EBITDA approximately. How do you think about that? Is Evo now becoming more of a value stock? Like, also I took note on the massive buybacks that have been announced now as well. Like, how do you think about Evo and coming out of this hyper growth phase that Evo to some extent have been known for many years, and now kind of stabilizing, let's say?
Yeah, just kind of living through it. It's like, can we just stop taking blows from outside the company? It's like you got cybercrime, and then it's like the currency goes against us. Now, sometimes it goes for you too, so that race is long. And you got, some of the stuff we discussed with Playtech and stuff. We're turning off, this channelization situation where we've had to turn off revenue, and you just shut it down. And so none of that stuff helps the growth story. I gotta say, like, maybe I'm sick, but there's something kind of fun about being like having a little vibe in the air. Like you even asking, like, is this just it? Are you a value company? Is there no growth left? I don't know. I don't want to make any predictions about the future, but like I'm jazzed about the future. I'm jazzed. I live in the games and the roadmaps world, and I want to talk about that. But it's kind of fun, if we keep our North Star intact, and we do, we're building new studios. We're in Argentina. We're in Colombia. We're in Brazil. We're in America. We're adding new studios in America. We're, Europe slowed down a little bit. Asia got this hardcore cybercrime issue that we're fighting. It's a cat and mouse game. But new areas are popping up all the time, and we're not missing anywhere. Latin America is a great story right now. The U.S. is a good story right now. Europe, got to dig in our heels. Yeah. You turn off a bunch of revenue, and then you go and you whip the commercial team, and you whip the product team, and you say, what else can we do? Let's go and find that money that we're shutting off, and so but stepping back, like I have a lot of evolution stock. I'm very incentivized. I want to see it go up. All that. Yeah. I don't think it's naive. It's maybe slightly romantic to just say, but it is true. If we can create the best games that entertain the players the most, and then we can get those games to operators at a fair price, then everything else will take care of itself. The GGR will be there as a result of that. The revenue will be there, and so it's been like a lot of blows from outside the company. Internally, I feel really good. We have the best roadmap we've ever had. Last year's roadmap was great. We learned a lot. Some of them were misses that surprised me. Some of them were big hits. We got a Hasbro deal going, so I'm super, super jazzed. If I didn't read the newspaper, I would think everything's awesome and it's going great. But some of those blows from the outside have slowed us down a little.
And do you feel, you mentioned, of course, that the roadmap is the best it's ever been.
Yeah.
Do you feel like all these distractions that has been going on left, right, and center in the business, has that also impacted the roadmap or the commercial process to some extent?
Zero. No, we're here and we're talking about it because it's a wide-ranging interview and we're talking about the industry and all that. But no, like people have, like, in product, like we talk about why isn't this game working right now in this region? What's happening with it? Why is this working so well? We turned on that feature. How is that going? What do you think players would prefer? What does the Baccarat player of tomorrow want? Someone who's turning 20 today and plays Roulette. What do they want? If someone who doesn't like any of our other Roulette games, but Lightning Roulette, Extreme Lightning Roulette, Red Door Roulette, Gold Bar Roulette, Fireball Roulette, if you don't like any of those, what's missing? Okay, got it. It's Monopoly Roulette. And tweaking and adjust. What happens outside? We have no budget restrictions as a result of this. We have all the IP. We're drowning in IP. We have so much from Hasbro, Monopoly and Battleship and Connect 4 and Hungry Hippos, and we're putting all that to work. So no, it's zero, not even a little bit of a distraction in product.
Let's talk a bit about the games and the roadmaps and so on. I want to tie this into AI as well. I was watching a Swedish finance news channel talk about the latest quarterly report in Evo, and they were discussing the risk profile of the fact that now you can create essentially unlimited amount of good-looking games using AI, and some studios, Yggdrasil, for example, and some others are producing these tools where you can create original games, not use reskins, but original, really good-looking games with AI tools. So what would take, 60,000 euro and a 6-month roadmap can now be done for the 10th of the cost, for the 10th of the price, and for the 10th of the effort, let's say, the same type of quality, which you can then extrapolate and say, all of a sudden you can produce unlimited amount of games. How does Evo compete in that reality? And what do you think about AI-generated games in general? Now we're talking about the RNG side first and foremost. There's also some things happening on the live side of things as well, where AI-generated live dealers, studios, and so on are now becoming a thing in the industry. But I'm keen to hear where is your competitive edge in this world? Presumably the AI will become better and better at creating games as well.
The live AI is kind of an interesting subject. It's kind of interesting. So first of all, it's RNG, right? So it's RNG with a dealer who's kind of dealing cards, who looks live and all that sort of stuff. And I think it's going to be a catastrophic failure for all kinds of reasons. I've thought deeply about this subject. So it's a deepfake. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about deepfake live casino. I don't know a lot of players that want anything deepfake in their live. But let's move out of live for a moment. Everybody's on Instagram Reels and YouTube and TikTok. There's a borderline crisis happening right now on these apps where the AI, first it was actors, and that turns people off dramatically, but there's not a great solution for that. But TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, they're all at war right now with AI content. You know, you scroll through it, and like I see all the in my feed, I'll get like, there's a baby sitting there in a carriage, and now a lion comes to attack the baby, but the dog jumps in front of the lion. And I've seen like 25 versions of that video.
I like what the algorithm feeds you. That says a lot about.
And so now they've all enacted labeling. They've all basically said like you can turn down or turn off AI content. And they're massively deprioritizing it in the feed. So it's a huge subject. You can read about it online. So that's just something as simple as watching a video. And it's like people want to watch a real person falling down the stairs, right? They don't want to watch a fake thing of someone falling down the stairs. I say that playfully. So if in something as simple as TikTok, if people are wildly turned off by, they have a term for it, AI slop. That's the term. That's not my term. That's the term that Instagram uses, TikTok uses. It's called AI slop. And I just call it deepfakes. I'm old-fashioned. My grandma used to call it deepfakes. So if in Instagram, where there's no stakes, you don't have any money on the table, you don't care that much about the feed, you're just turned off by it. And if they're going to war, then that's a pretty good indication that there's already AI fatigue on deepfakes. The fact that it's called AI slop is not lost on me either. I mean, that it's intentionally pejorative. No one's, and if let's suppose Instagram allows lots of AI, and TikTok says we're going to ban it. Fast forward 5 years, who wins?
TikTok.
For sure, right? So now let's move over to the gambling sphere. Okay, where you have money on the line. The idea that people are playing live because they want to like look at the image of a dealer is absurd. If as a substitute for some RNG blackjack products, it's fine. You know, to have a AI generated dealer, it's okay. There's RNG product out there that has pre-recorded dealers and stuff like that. It doesn't do that well. It's been tried for years. Maybe a land-based, an AI dealer could work. But online, could it carve off a small piece of the RNG table game business? Small piece. I don't think an RNG table game player wants to go slower. And I don't think it's novel. I think like there's plenty of AI fatigue. And then you say, well, maybe they'll want to chat. Well, they won't. You know, do you want to log on to Amazon and chat with an AI bot? And they're like, well, what do you think about this? Or what do you think about this? No, you want to go directly to where you want to go. You want to get in. You want to get out. So then you say, is it a threat to live? No. And this is why I say catastrophic failure, if you're going after live. why would players endure live at all? Why would they? It's slower. It's heavy video. It can drain your phone a little faster. Sometimes human beings, dealers, they make mistakes. But people play it. Lots and lots of people play it. And it's because when you're gambling, or maybe gamblers, are inherently distrustful. And then there's a tilt factor. When you lose, you get upset. And, we see it in chat all the time. People, oh, your games are rigged and all this. We're licensed in 50 jurisdictions. Nothing's could be cleaner. But it feels that way. Now imagine you're running a casino. You have your own casino. And players are playing a game that's offered as something that's presumed to be live. They lose a few hands, and then they realize that it's a deepfake. You're going to have a nightmare on your hands. They're going to swear off your casino forever. And forget it. They're not just going to not play that product again. They're going to call the regulator. Now, separate from all that, there's laws that are increasingly being passed that say you have to, labeling laws that say you're going to have to say this is a deep fake, this is AI. And the second you do that, I think it's dead on arrival. So it's a fun subject. It's an interesting subject. I've thought a lot about it. In a scenario where it takes off, hopefully our brands will carry the day. Crazy Time is a franchise brand. The Lightning family is a franchise brand. Funky Time, Ice Fishing, all of our Hasbro content. So we're going big on that. That moves us over to the slot side. So on the slot side, we already have 5,000 slots a year being released. If you take that to 20,000, I think all it means is just more companies go out of business. I don't think the difference between 5,000 and 20,000 is that much. It makes making games easier. The deep know-how will still be required. Maybe how many great slot mines are there on planet Earth today? 15? Now maybe AI will be able to do some of what they do, and that'd be interesting. And in a world where you push a button and it just gives you a slot that's great, then you're just reduced to brands. And those brands that, Hasbro could be a brand, or Starburst could be a brand, or San Quentin could be a brand, or whatever. And then the brands will carry the day. So I don't think going from 5,000 to 20,000 slots is that big of a deal. There'll be a lot of giveaways. They'll lower prices. But the games ultimately have to perform, carry the day, get you to click on them. So AI is an exciting topic. We use a lot of AI for a lot of things, but I do not worry about AI deepfakes being a problem for Live Dealer.
I'll just try to steel man the other side.
Sure.
I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. So the other side would probably say something that, sure, Todd, with the legacy player base that you have, they play live because they want to see a real dealer dealing real cards, and there's a trust element there that they don't trust the RNG. Blackjack, they feel is rigged, and they want to see the actual person and maybe even have a little connection with that dealer. Then, on the other hand, there's a new generation that is growing up right now that is more AI native. There is a really interesting subreddit on Reddit called "My Boyfriend is AI." Interestingly enough, this is mostly women in this subreddit, where I don't want to classify all, but seemingly a lot of lonely people in this world have a hard time to connect with people in the actual world, so they connect with the chatbot, and in this case they create relationships, actual relationships that they perceive
the movie Her.
Excuse me?
The movie Her.
The movie Her, yeah, exactly. That's a good example of that. But this is becoming pretty prevalent in this subreddit. I think there's 100,000 people in this subreddit, all discussing their relationships that they have formed with ChatGPT or with X, with Grok, for example. And to that point, Grok specifically have created this kind of anime-like characters that you can create and chat to and form a relationship with in whichever direction you want to go. And it's becoming incredibly popular. People seem to feel, or some people seem to feel at ease and comfortable with the fact that they know that they can relax into a relationship that is like no stakes for them. Like it doesn't matter what they say, or they're not going to be made fun of, they're not going to be ridiculed. They can just create this relationship on their own terms. And so the other side of the coin to the social media example is that there is maybe a subset of people who feel much more comfortable, even if they have the choice of creating their own personalized AI dealer that looks and feels and talks in the way that they would prefer to be talked to or communicated with, than an actual real human dealer. And that could actually create a bit of a, maybe not disrupt the entire live market, but maybe there's a more and more meaningful demographic that would prefer that experience.
Mm-hmm. I like the Steelman. So that next generation is already seeing a lot of AI on TikTok and Instagram, and they're exhausted by it, and they don't want it. That product you're talking about is overtly AI. It is not even for a second trying to suggest that it's anything otherwise, right? It's anime, it's intentionally AI. There's not one person in that Reddit group that thinks they're talking to a human, right? Imagine if there's another product and someone launched a company and they said, that this is actually real humans. There's a real person on the other end of it. And then you found out it wasn't. Dead on arrival, right?
That's a problem.
It's a business blowing up event.
Right.
And then you say, okay, so again, so comfort around AI, for sure. AI is here to stay and all that sort of stuff. It's the trickery. So perhaps the best embodiment of the product that you're talking about is an anime dealer. I personally, as a product guy, I don't think that the market, I don't think there's really anybody in the market that wants to play a blackjack game where they're like consoling. They know your style and they're like, oh, hey, have you seen any good movies lately? By the way, by hit or stand, you got a 15 there. It's like people, they don't work that way. They want to compartmentalize their life. That's why like the Everything app is so hard to do.
Right.
Like I want to go to this app for this. I want to go to that app for that. I want to go to my gambling app to gamble. I want to go to my AI boyfriend girlfriend app for that. I want to go to Google for search. Like that's how the world is. I want to go to the weather app for weather still, even though of course you could use AI for a lot of these things. So yeah, people are comfortable with AI. But the idea of a deep fake live, which is like the term, right? That's the headline is like, oh yes, it's going to replace a live dealer. That product that you're talking about only works because it's overtly unreal. And so now again, add back the money element. If I say to you, let's bet $1,000 on a coin flip. That's too much. If I say let's bet $5,
which
$5
has actually happened.
So yeah, we had some good gambling together, you and me.
Yeah. I'm the only person in the world that ever won money in gambling against Todd.
That's right. Yeah,
I have that
we
as
had
a
some
bet.
basketball shooting, some bowling. So let's say we want to bet $5 on a coin flip, and I say, okay, well, I can either do it digitally on my phone or I can flip a coin. Almost everybody's going to say, I want the coin flip. Well, why? I mean, this is just as random, potentially even more random. Like, just flip the coin. And gamblers are that way. And I don't see it changing. I mean, we're in 2026. We're not in like,
2027.
Yeah. It's like live has never been bigger than it is today. Live casinos, the rage. And we're going to try to make it more the rage. But players have been enduring 45-second game rounds for a long time. And I do mean enduring. Slots are 3-second game rounds. And RNG table games, you can play those in a few seconds. So live is still the rage. That doesn't mean that an RNG anime dealer, but that's the way I would do the product. I would do it as an anime, as an alien dealing your cards or something like that, or let me just swipe and choose. And it's overtly clear that I'm playing RNG. And there's a space for RNG. It's some percentage of the table games business now. and it always will be. And maybe it'll even be a growing space. I don't know. But we're increasingly trying to create brands and game shows and entertainment, and that's kind of the direction we're really moving, and trying to widen the space of gambling to make the tent bigger, rather than just sort of like take customers from the competition or something like that. We're trying to invite in more players.
Yeah. I feel that every organization right now is trying to grapple with the fact of how do we become AI native and offload a lot of processes internally, or make it easier to produce games in this case, or the product that they are specialized in. And I think there is probably 99 ways of going down that path of just doing it for cost saving, but sacrificing your integrity at the same time. And there's very few ways of doing it in a way where you hold your integrity intact. And I think if you're able to kind of approach becoming AI native as an organization whilst kind of guaranteeing that your integrity is held high, you separate yourself further from your competition. So I just wanted to go back to what you mentioned before on the RNG side, where you mentioned, okay, in a world where game studios now have the ability to produce unlimited amount of games, maybe not even from 5 to 20,000 games, but maybe from 5,000 games to 500,000 games, or 5 million games. In that world, right, what's going to happen with these studios that now are able to produce maybe even better games than they were producing before, but at almost zero cost? That is obviously going to be a price war between these studios that are now all producing much better games, but they are kind of falling into the sea of sameness to some extent. Again, just going back to that world, you will presumably now be competing against studios that are able to offer much lower rates than you, that are able to produce much more games than you. So you brushed over too fast about how the importance of brand becomes in that world. Can you hone in a little bit more on what your competitive edge is in that world of unlimited amount of games? How do you compete against the studios that are offering more games that look really great, seemingly to the similar quality to what you produce, but at a much lower cost? How do you win in that world?
Yeah. More games is not some magic trick. We could quadruple the number. We could do the most games of anybody in the world if we wanted to, right? I mean, and so you also bump up against a problem in a world where there's this unlimited games. The big winner will be the testing houses, right? Because you got to spend a lot of money to build games, and you got to get them tested, and you got to get them out there.
Good to be GLI.
Yeah, it's good to be GLI, BMM, and so you have to make enough to cover the. Let's say you just push a button and a game comes out, and now you got a game, and now you got to get it out. I don't think quite a flood is really going to be the interesting impact. Like when we fast forward, and we'll do another podcast at some point in the future, and we'll say, oh, what happened? I think what's going to happen is we'll be using AI just like everybody else. I'm not sure the market really needs another 300 games from Evolution. But what has happened historically when you've gotten productivity tools is you just make better games. Now, you say, oh, why don't you just do that now? There is a cost limitation. And every time you make a game, it's a gamble. And so if you're a bigger company with wider distribution, you can gamble bigger. But if you're... So what will happen with AI? I think, if I can dream a little bit looking into the future, maybe what AI will do is it will allow you, for the same price of making a game now, to do super layered games that take you on these long journeys, much more like a video game. So you go into a bonus round and then you unlock another. And then you get on that and you unlock another. And then you go into that and you unlock another. And it can just take you on sort of these endless journeys. And then perhaps you could, if you have a game that's working, you could even add to that game, and you could say, oh, we need to add another 10 worlds, a bit like social casinos do, where you unlock more stuff and more features. And we'll look back on today and we'll say, remember when games used to be so flat? I mean, it was just like a base game with a bonus, or maybe you could choose between a couple different bonuses if it was a big complex game. And in the future, it'll be just layers and layers and layers and layers. And so, and that's going to require a lot of know-how. And so it's a lot of intellectual capital. And so you still need people that really get the game of slots, and they're going to have to interpret that. Then distribution. So you're going to need to get the games out. So, but a lot of other companies have distribution too. Then the brands. Now, that is real. If you look and say, like, what's working? Like, what kind of slots work? Well, look at a step outside of evolution, like Pragmatic. You know, they have some great games like Gates of Olympus or what's the candy game? Sweet Bonanza. Sweet Bonanza. They've driven it, or their Bass series. They've driven a truck through those brands. Big Bass this, Big Bass that. Very smart. And so they're writing that. Top Gun 3 is coming out. The Star Wars franchise. I say brands, and you know, you said, oh, maybe you're kind of going over it too fast. But that is for real. Being able to do what you want with the Star Wars franchise or the Monopoly franchise, or
Yes.
Or tie things to live. But I think really that is going to be, it's like some combination of know-how plus distribution plus making the game of the future and using AI to make bigger, grander games, coupled with brands, is gonna be the ticket. But it's never been easier to start a slot studio. But you're going to light a lot of people are going to light a lot of money on fire making today's games with AI. And so, but it's an ever-changing space. I feel very lucky on the live side because like you've heard me already on Deepfakes. I think it's dead on arrival. I have zero concerns. But what a lucky break! I mean, you know, there's plenty of industries being disrupted by AI, and I just feel like, oh, thank goodness that I'm in a company where trust is so important and live is so important, and you have 20-some thousand people working at Evolution. It's just a hard thing to copy. It's a very difficult thing to copy. And then, you know, additionally, we can use our live strength to distribute games. So like while you're playing Crazy Time, you can play slots, and so that becomes a way of introducing our games, and we're not introducing other companies' games through that vehicle. That's millions and millions of players a month that we can expose to slots, and we're very gentle about that. We let them find it on their own. We're not heavy-handed. But we've got a lot of tools at our disposal like that.
Yeah, and I think that's I think you hit the nail on the head in that regard. Like in this world of AI, in the sea of sameness of amazingly looking great games that much better than what we have seen in the past, but they still blend into the sea of sameness. The way to stand out is through brands, right?
That's
people are still playing Dead or Alive. You know, people are still playing Gonzo's Quest.
Yeah.
Right, and people are just attracted to the brands that they grew up with, perhaps, in the sense that you now signed a deal with Hasbro, and you bring these great brands that we all are emotionally connected to. So at the end of the day, when you go into the lobby of any given casino and you see a really great looking icon of a brand that you don't recognize versus, you know, the latest Monopoly game that you grew up with and you have an attachment to, you will gravitate towards those brands. And in the world of AI, not just in casino and live casino, but I think across industries, the winners will be the strongest brands often, the ones that people trust, the ones that people have an emotional connection to. And I think even the brands that existed before AI, there will be some form of legacy and trust stamp attached to them because they put their own human hands into creating these brands. And at the end of the day, I think there's something deep that we value about those type of brands.
Yeah, and the company brand. You know, people have a certain affinity to certain companies. Like this question's been asked before about like who would have thought that Marvel and DC comics, you know, in a world where people don't read comic books anymore,
right?
I'm sure they're bigger than ever, right? Take the game Monopoly. Do people still play board games now that COVID's over? COVID was a nice resurgence for the board game world, but now COVID's over. I don't think that brand's ever been bigger. Margot Robbie's doing a Monopoly movie after her success with Barbie. And then you've got
Great
Monopoly.
movie, by the way.
What's that?
Great movie, by the way.
Yeah, good one. You've got wouldn't have thought you were a big Barbie movie guy. But it's a fun movie. Yeah.
I like it.
And then you've got Monopoly Go. I think it's the #1 game in the App Store still. Scopely spent $1 billion marketing the game. I mean, that's a very serious. That's putting that brand into everybody in the world. Like that, it's on their phone now. Monopoly is very much living on your phone. Aristocrat's going to do 1 million great games on land-based. They've got the worldwide rights to land-based. And then, that brand that's out there in the world, it's spinning this tornado. Margot Robbie's helping spin that tornado. Aristocrat's helping. Scopely with Monopoly Go. Of course, the classic board game. And that's spinning this tornado, and then we're jumping into it with our stuff. We're going to help spin it too. We're going to spin it for them, and so we've got a very Monopoly-heavy roadmap coming.
Yeah, is that so the big bet now moving forward? Is it leaning a lot on the Hasbro brands?
Yeah, it is. It's we invented the game show genre years ago. Like no one ever talked about like a game show, and it was an awkward term at one point. It's like a game show. You mean those things I watch on TV? But now you'd say a game show, and it's like there's table games, there's slots, and there's game shows, and that's pretty cool. And it is not getting smaller. This is where it's at, and it's what we're known for. Really, it is. If people know Crazy Time more than they probably know Evolution. They know Lightning Roulette more than they know Evolution, and so on and so forth. And so we're increasingly thinking about the world and our customers from an entertainment perspective. And that is the product. People are looking for entertainment on their phone. And they're going to TikTok, and they're going to Instagram, they're going to X, and they're doing all the kinds of different forms of entertainment they can find on their phone. And then we're another one, right? Through our partners who have casinos. And so that's some pretty stiff competition. TikTok is seriously stimulating, dangerously stimulating. And so we have to consider that's the world we're living in. And that doesn't mean faster. In some cases it can. But it means more entertaining. It means taking players on a journey and leaning hard into that entertainment. And if you look out into the future, not tomorrow, but if you look out and you say like, well, who are you making games for? Like where are your games going to live in the future? Like Marvel Comics and DC, did they foresee that they were going to make more in digital and movies, or did Monopoly, a board game company, think that they were going to make more in digital than they are in board games? I don't know if they're making more or not. I suspect they are. But the same way that happened, I think the idea that Netflix is a huge customer in the future of Evolution, or Amazon is a huge customer of Evolution in the future, is sensible. And what exactly does that look like? It could look in any number of ways. And we want to have games that are so good that with their unlimited budgets that they come in and they scan the supplier universe and they say, well, we're not going to start from scratch on the Evolution stuff. They've got so much stuff that we need and want. The suite of Monopoly games is just so fun. And why can't it be on Netflix? Why shouldn't it be? Maybe it's gaming, maybe it's non-gaming, I don't know. But like, it's a very healthy way for us in the product department at Evolution to be thinking. And I think it's very sensible.
Yeah, like think beyond what we've done for
it's
many
happening
years. Think
now.
of first principles. Yeah.
I would love to say, yes, I remember back in 2017 when we launched Dreamcatcher and we had a 15-year architecture. No, we've been kind of doing it one game at a time, learning, failing, picking ourselves up, trying something new, try, miss, try, get a big hit, okay, try to replicate that, see if you can do, how do you do that but different? How do you then now widen the tent and bring in more people? That's where Monopoly comes in. And so, it's about entertaining people, and you're not going to do it with just blackjack, roulette, and baccarat.
And speaking about thinking bigger, you mentioned Amazon, Netflix. They should be the customers of the future. Are any such like conversations taking place? Like, are you talking to any of these, like the next Hasbro or the Netflix or the Amazon? Is that where you guys are spending energy on it?
So without it getting any like, we're talking to this company right now or that company right now. We're very open-minded. Like, we want to work with Disney. We want to work quite specifically with DC. And a lot of these companies, they're getting comfort around it. And you talk to them, and they tell you that. And, I'll be talking to someone at a massive company that we would know. I say, so where are we? Hey, maybe we've been talking for 1.5 years already. And I said, where are we? And like, well, we got a new boss overseeing our licensing, our games, our this division or that division, and they're just not quite comfortable. And so maybe what we could do is we could take this channel and we could do something with it. The same way Disney said we can take the ESPN channel and we can do something with it. That conversation is more common than you think. And so they're all a little nervous, but maybe you don't start with casino. That's fine. It doesn't have to be a gambling product. It can be a social product, or it can be, just play for fun. And but I want them to be playing Crazy Time. I want them to be playing Funky Time. I want them to be playing Lightning Storm. I want them to be playing our Monopoly games. And so we're talking to anybody and everybody all the time. We like incoming traffic, incoming thoughts. If anybody has any big IP out there that you think would work and find a nice home in evolution, call me.
Bob Iger, Reed Hastings, Jeff Bezos. If you're listening to this, Todd is open for your conversation.
Let's do a deal.
So I want to talk a bit about the competition. In the last the last conversations we had, I remember back to one of our earlier podcasts that we did together in an old studio. We talked about what could disrupt evolution, and we've revisited that topic in the past as well. But I remember back to that conversation, and we were trying to ideate together what would the scenario look like where evolution's live product is actually disrupted. And we were having a pretty hard time to create that scenario back then. Since then, if we go forward to today, again as an outside observer, it seems to me that the playing field is leveling to some extent. Now there seems to be other competitors out there that are getting some grip over certain markets. Pragmatic comes to mind on the live side as well. Obviously, they are dominating the RNG side, but it seems to me that they are on the rise on the live side as well, without having that much information. There are others as well coming out of Armenia, especially with Imagine Live, BetConstructor doing their thing, and some other live studios as well across the world. Is Evolution losing its iron grip over the live casino product? And what, in your opinion, how does the competitive landscape look like today in comparison to 2021 when we did that podcast?
You'd be surprised how remarkably unsophisticated I am about what everybody else is doing, and how much we don't talk about it in product. I'm not saying it doesn't come up. When other companies launch games, we have someone go and play it, and we'll look at it. But I did a presentation at iGaming Next in New York, and I put a slide up there that showed all the different live providers. I think there was like 40 live providers at that time. And it'd be fun to go through that list, and maybe we could rattle off five that we know of, or 6 that are in live today. And the names kind of change. And I think last time you asked me about Sands, and they were coming in with unlimited budget. And
right.
I think they've now closed that down. And I think that was a wise decision to close it down. I think it's a nightmare of a business for them. There's others out there. That ain't changing. If they're growing or gaining share or anything like that, I don't know. I don't know their numbers. I don't know. I don't have a good read on it. If they are gaining share or growing, I then further don't know if that's good for evolution or not. Is Pepsi bad for Coke? I'm not sure. I'm sure, like, if I asked the Coke executives, they'd sure like to see Pepsi disappear. But I don't know if that helps them or not. And I don't know that in a world, if you went back in time and Pepsi never appeared, that that's good for Coke. I just don't know. So it's not new. We have our 20th birthday. Most of them are not having their 20th birthday this year. Most of them are younger companies. But it's just what I've said in the past is still true. It's such an impossibly difficult space. And it's not even evolution that's the problem. We're a problem in the sense that players know us and like us, and they're comfortable with it, and they're familiar, and they play our games, and they go and they like to play our other. They play game shows, they play other stuff, and then they trust our games and all that. But what about the number 2 and the number 3 and the number 4 and the number 5 suppliers, which are good? So you have the iron grip or whatever. I don't think of it in those terms. It's a great big world out there. We have to make great games. We have to entertain people. I don't know that there's anything that's really going to like harpoon us. But if we kind of just had a bad 2026 roadmap and a bad 2027 roadmap, or going back in time, if we had bad roadmaps in 2021 through 2025. We'd be in a very different position, I think. A very different position. We'd be thought of differently in the industry. We wouldn't have the flywheel where people are playing our stuff and then they play other stuff and all that. I think we're paranoid. We're a few years of bad roadmaps away from feeling some pain or something like that. But even then, like Crazy Time and our brands, they're going to live on for a long, long time. I think. Crazy Time is the new Blackjack. We have way more Crazy Time players than we have Blackjack players. We have more Crazy Time players than we have Roulette players. So, this is, and then Crazy Time's children, right? It has babies, Funky Time, and all these others. So, competition is not new. We've had it for a while. When I first joined the company, we used to talk about NetEnt. And people would come in and slightly panicked, and they'd say, NetEnt is doing this new feature where you can click on a dealer behind and switch tables, and we need to do that. Or someone else comes along, and then it's other companies, and so there will always be, I think, maybe two like solid competitors, and then maybe another at any given time, depending on like the venture capital world, maybe like another 30 or 15 to 30 or so beyond that are always going to kind of look at the leaders and say, like, that space is ripe for us to shoot in and try to take a piece of the business. But
So I understand you don't pay too much attention to the competitors, what they are doing, focus on yourself and so on. But is there anything in recent times that you've been impressed by a particular competitor? Is there someone that's done something great?
In slots or live? Everywhere?
In live or everywhere? I guess you remember back to the presentation 2019.
No. When I say like you'd be surprised how little attention we pay to it. I don't have to study Aviator week after week after week to appreciate what they've achieved.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah, incredible. And incredible as a business that they're running.
Yeah.
There's 75 or 100 crash games.
Yeah, but when you think crash game?
Aviator. And they had the guts to go B2C marketing as a supplier. I watch UFC and boxing, and I see their name in the ring, and that took a lot of guts, because the economics of the business as a supplier are, if a casino makes this much, you only get this much, a small piece. And so out of that small piece, it's always been pretty uneconomical to take your message directly to the public, which is very expensive. And they've successfully kind of fought off and are fighting off every day, but they have their foot on the gas. So I really admire them as business people, and then, I don't know if they were technically first or not. I don't know who went first, but they were kind of the first one that we all know.
Yeah.
And so credit to them for building the product that got out there in front and then holding their position. I admire Red Bull in the same way.
Yeah.
They
It's a commoditized product at
yeah,
the end of the day.
yeah.
An energy drink or the Crash game is just the simplest of the
That's
simplest
right.
game that you can.
And it's hard to get out there in gaming. You got regulatory hurdles, and then you get big, and others want to come and sue you for things and say you're infringing.
Yeah,
And,
that's what they are dealing with.
Yeah, of
as well.
course. I mean, Facebook had the same thing, right? Like, we lived through it. It's like, welcome to the game. You're big now. You're going to get sued.
UKGC or something.
Sure. I mean, that's the game.
Same for them.
You give it. Nobody wants to make an example out of or go after a three-person company. And so I admire them. Let's see what else. That's an example. There's lots of stuff out there that I look at and admire. These companies that are doing deepfakes, live casino. I admire them. I think it's going to be a failure, but that's my professional opinion as a product guy. If I thought it was going to be a winner, I would be working on it right now. And I might be wrong, of course, but they're bringing something new to the industry. I would love to have a fun conversation with those guys, and we can joust. And I'll say, I don't think so, and I'd say a lot of the things that I said. Maybe they'll watch this and they'll want to kill me or something. But it's just my take on things. But I admire that they're bringing something new to the industry. It's hard. I admire that company, MarbleRace.io.
Right. 155.
Marble, what is it?
155.
Is that the name of the company?
They created the marble races, yeah.
Okay.
And now they innovated with the
duck races.
I don't know if you've seen this with like the cars are driving down the road, the CCTV game. Have you seen that? It's like the hottest thing right now.
Yeah.
It's the same company that did the marble races and now doing that. Also incredible.
I admire that. So I admire the new. They're doing duck races and stuff like that.
Duck races,
the watching the cars go. I admire that.
Yeah.
I admire the crypto games. Super low fidelity, but fast speed, high RTP, and action-based games. I admire whoever invented the Plinko game. I think that's a cool game. There's all kinds of stuff out there, but usually it's new. It doesn't even have to work. But when it works, then you get a special level of admiration.
Yeah. I want to just go back to Aviator and Scribe for a moment.
Sure.
I mean, as we said, what an incredible success story. It might be one of the most incredible success stories that the industry has ever seen, even outside of the industry. I mean, it's a commoditized, the simplest of the simplest of games. And your intuition would say that, sure, players want to play a Crash game, but it's so easy to create that any other studio can do it and just undercut it, and there will be just a race to the bottom for the operators. The players don't care. Yeah. But Aviator were able to generate a brand out of it that players gravitated towards. Just absolutely amazing. That single game is probably, I don't know if I can say by far, but it must be the most profitable game in existence today. I think David and the guys have communicated a little bit around it externally, and it seems like they are making, hundreds of millions of euro each year.
Yeah.
There were some rumors swirling around that this would be a pretty interesting acquisition target for Evolution for a while there. Is that something you'd like to comment on? Because at face value, it seems like it's such a great acquisition. You are literally buying revenues. Evolution have the distribution to ensure that this is always going to be part of all the operators' catalogs. It seems to be a great value acquisition for Evolution. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Yeah. First of all, as Chief Product Officer at Evolution, you have to beat yourself up and say, why didn't we do it? And you have to take it, all CPOs should do this. why didn't we come up with that game? What did we miss? And do a deep scrutiny of it and say and ask that question. So I have beat myself up a lot about it, and we in products discuss that subject a lot. Anything that kind of becomes big in gaming, like I feel like we should have it, or we should be the ones to bring it. About them being a fit for Evolution, we love brands for sure. I don't know anything about those rumors, by the way. There's always rumors about someone's going to buy Evolution, we're going to buy somebody. Like that's I hear all kinds of stuff. We like when we talk about it, not necessarily this particular company, but when we talk about that subject, we like brands that can be durable. So they've got something durable, and then we also like a great candidate for us is a company that they've gotten themselves from like 0 to 100 kilometers per hour, and now they want to go to 1,000 kilometers per hour, and that's really like where we can be helpful. Too young, and it's like we don't want to take the risk and the energy and everything else of you getting the next big thing. We'd rather just wait until you're more mature and it's proven. But now you'd benefit from being in every jurisdiction in the world, being integrated into one-stop shop and going out everywhere. I look at them. I don't know what we can do for them. I'd have to think about it. I don't know the company backwards and forwards. I don't think they'd want to, like, they're just swimming in money, We'd like to buy them at the right price. So, I think, you'd like to buy them at the right price. You and me can do it personally.
All right,
we just need a good deal. So, but
let's see what I can do.
But yeah, in terms of like, are we actively doing anything? No, you always have to say can't confirm and deny anything.
Yeah.
But they have a great brand, and we like brands, but they're so big now.
I can imagine like the live version of Aviator.
I don't know that we can contribute anything.
The offshoots that you could do.
Yeah, we did it. We did Red Baron, but having the brand matters. I'm quite encouraged by the fact that they've proven how much brand matters, right?
It's everything. Right?
Because I've talked a lot on this pod now so far about brands, and we have a lot of brands.
Yeah.
And Evolution itself as a live provider, Evolution Blackjack is a brand. And you never really know how much players care. But the incentive to change is so low. It's like, well, I play Aviator. Why would I play? Yeah. But you can play ours.
We are creatures of habit.
Yeah. But don't you know, we have a lower rev share than Aviator. So you should play ours. But I like Aviator. Okay, well, I'm going to give the other one better positioning because I get better. But I like Aviator. Well, maybe I'll just remove Aviator because I can do something else and offer it. I pay a really low rev share at a casino, and so I'm going to almost make you choose it. I'm going to take Aviator off. Fine, I have accounts on 3 casinos. I'll just go play the one that still has it. And so I think we benefit from player and brand loyalty the same way they do. But they're really proving it out in a great way.
Yeah, my goodness me! Like
talking
about a brand that only has one game, it's prime to be to be taken on board and okay, let's just do a live offshoot. Let's do Aviator 2.0. Let's do Aviator RNG. I'll leave it out there.
Yeah.
So speaking of which, let's talk a little bit about M&A. I'm not letting you off the hook today. A little bit easy off today, Todd. But I'm curious. A couple of years ago we saw acquisition after acquisition of different interesting brands that Evo took on board. No Limit City, NetEnt, of course, Red Tiger. But in recent years, we haven't seen that much M&A coming from the company. Obviously, you have Galaxy, which is still pending and so on, and can talk a little bit about that. Have Evolution's approach to M&A changed? Are you happy with what you have, so to say, looking at iterative? Obviously, the RNG side has been somewhat struggling in that regard, that it hasn't seen perhaps that growth in some of these brands. Is it part of the reason why you haven't pursued more acquisition targets? Talk a bit more about how you think
in
about
terms
this.
of like grand strategy around M&A. I can't speak to it. I do contribute to the M&A process in the sense that like when new companies come our way or something that they're looking to do something strategic, I'll be in the early discussions, and my contribution to the process is, does this feel like the future? Does it feel like something we could do something with? Does this feel like something that maybe we can bring over to live, or we can integrate it into other stuff? Would they benefit from having Hasbro licenses? So I get involved in that sense. You're right, we've slowed down. So a couple things there. So we went on sort of a slot company buying spree, Big Time, Red Tiger, No Limit, NetEnt, so on and so forth. And then we've built a couple brands internally. Those are young brands, but we're doing those, and we're incubating them slowly. And so we had to get them all integrated into one big place. That's our one-stop shop. That's a big deal. One of these projects, stuff always comes up throughout the process. It always takes longer than you think. And so we kind of had them all stacked up, and it's like, okay, we got to get them all integrated. We also wanted to be in the slot space. That was something that was important to us. And so, at our size and scale at the time that we decided we want to be in the slot space, buying your way in, it makes a lot of sense. It's very hard to build a slot brand. I mean, how many new slot brands have really come on in the last 3 or 4 years and made noise? Not many. So it's very hard. That's, again, a warning signal to those that think they're just going to bring AI slots. Mm-hmm. So it's still led by the same companies. And then some of the giants have fallen down a little also. So now we have a collection of slot companies, and then we're making a lot of new games. And so you also have to think about like how much can we really put out there to the market at any given time. Like I said, we like I told you the profile of company already that we like. When we wake up every day, we think like, how do we get better placement for our product, make games that players love, be sensitive to the different jurisdictions around the world. What do the Brazilians want? What do the Filipinos want? What do the Europeans want? What do they want in Michigan right now? What do they want in New Jersey? How do we leverage the Hasbro brand? I mean, that's really our North Star. And we're so big that if you get something that works, you can get it out there, and it becomes like by itself. We have numerous live titles from recent years that are bigger. They contribute more to the bottom line than, say, like Big Time Gaming or something, which is a big acquisition, right? So focus on our own stuff is like pretty important. We're in the slot space now. Do we need to be more in the slot space? I'm not so sure, but there's a lot of slot companies that are for sale, and they just don't have any IP. And you're like, okay, well, you're just as good as your next collection of games. That we're not interested in. We can do
that. You can do yourself.
Yeah, we can do the Slot Master 3000 AI machine and bang out title after title too. That's not interesting. So we would really only be kind of interested in companies that have something durable. And I know someone came along and the price is right. We've got free cash, and I'm sure that the board and our CEO and they'd take an interest. Like I said, my contribution to the process is just that does feel like the future. That does feel durable. I think players players in other parts of the world where they're not would love that, and that's a bit of a guessing game.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so speaking about M&A, Todd, I think something that's really interesting now in general is like, what is Evolution's future? What is the company's strategy? It has been a hyperscaling company for many years. It has kind of invested into that growth further by pursuing M&A and having aggressive targets and expansion across the world and so on. But I took note now in the recent news that came out a few weeks ago, where Evolution announced a $2 billion buyback program.
No.
It's a massive move, not just for the buybacks themselves, but this is unprecedented for what Evo has been in the past. You've used that free cash flow to weaponize it in that sense to buy other companies. You have done buybacks in the past, but it's kind of been like 10% of what this massive buyback is now. You are kind of sacrificing that free cash flow now that you are partly funding this buyback with a credit line as well, so partly funded by credit. And it seems almost like, is Evo now becoming a value stock here? Like why is this move happening now? What does it mean? Can you talk more about this move, the $2 billion buyback scheme? Why did this happen now?
I'm just the CPO.
And why is it so unprecedented?
The board makes these calls. Personally, I love it. I think it's fantastic. As I said, sort of romantically, we have the best roadmap that we've ever had. We have we've strengthened our IP. Not only do we have all of our existing IP, but we have new IP that we can bring in. When you look across sort of the world and you say, like, what's going on? What's the landscape? Well, it'd be nice if we could stop taking some blows from the outside. So fine, our stock has taken a little bit of a breather. I love this. There's only one reason you buy stock, right? There's a lot of reasons to sell stock. There's only one reason you buy stock, and I love that it's a huge bet on ourselves. We are making games that players love. We hope they love the next ones, and I'm confident that they're going to. I don't look across the horizon and see anybody else doing anything where I say, "Oh, they're catching us." I think we're widening the gap in terms of like providing the most fun games. Others are kind of focused on like Roulette, Blackjack, and Baccarat, and you're just kind of getting those core games out. It's fine. It's a good piece of business, and we're out there expanding the space and expanding each of those three in all kinds of ways too. So, if we can just kind of stop taking blows, and we focus and we stay paranoid and produce great games that players love, the ultimate outcome of that will be free cash flow, right? And it'd be nice to have a lot less shares to distribute that amongst. So I'm a big fan. You said we used debt. I'm not sure. We got a credit card, right? We haven't taken on any debt, right?
No.
It's just a credit card that we can use if we want to.
Okay, yeah. But good to clarify. That's well. I mean, there were a lot of rumors swirling before the quarterly meeting, the Q1 meeting, that perhaps Evo is looking to go off the public markets into the private markets. There was a lot of secrecy when the quarterly report was announced, where Martin, your CEO, didn't really want to answer too many questions around the cash flow, and a lot of rumors started swirling straight away. And then seemingly from nowhere, this big announcement came. I don't know if there's anything to comment around it.
That's funny how I love you. It's so fun to hear your perspective, that something as simple as silence can create such a storm of it must mean this and it must mean that. I think it's the biggest stock buyback in the history of the Nordics. It just takes a little time. There's a credit facility involved. I think it took a little bit of time, but the idea that there was something more interesting than that, I don't think so.
Well, the fringe theories, the conspiracy theories around there. But
I always hear, I heard you guys are buying this, or sometimes I heard so and so is going to buy you guys, or whatever. And it's fun to hear it, but
for sure. So I also want to kind of go deep into on the Asian side of the business. You talked about the cybercrime and the cyber attacks. That's been a reoccurring topic in many of the quarterly reports lately. That we do get some limited commentary that this is hurting the revenues of Evolution on the Asian side. But me personally, at least, I haven't really gotten more than that surface explanation that there is cyber activity against Evolution that is kind of limiting your product in that geo. Can you talk a little bit more in depth? What is actually happening in terms of the cyber crime and cyber activity against Evolution in Asia? What does this actually mean?
Yeah, so this is tricky because it's hard to talk about without giving dormant bad actors bad ideas.
Right.
So you don't want to do that. And then, with respect to talking about fighting it, that again, you don't want to give your playbook away on that. So I at the risk of being boring, I don't quite know what to say. It is it's nice that they want to steal our stuff, but boy, I sure wish it wasn't the case. And I don't. Again, it's a battle. It's a fight. I know it sounds like I'm being cryptic. I'm not trying to hide. I'm trying to not give any bad ideas to bad people, right. And also not say oh, well, here's what we're doing about it. Okay, well,
But in essence, can you explain on a very surface level what is happening? Can you talk a bit about just what is it exactly that?
What's been said so far?
I think it's a bit shallow in quarterly report that cyber activity against Evolution in Asia. There's probably a bit more commentary that I can't pull out of my head right now, but I don't know if there's any form of very high level explanation of the activity that is taking place beyond going deeper into that, or it's maybe even the fact that you can't say that is
it's a fair question.
Is in itself gives us any information.
I don't know what's already been what we've already put out there, and I don't want to create. I don't do anything that could create a problem where all of a sudden I say it and someone's like, "Well, that's a good idea. I should do that." So I don't want to wake anybody up.
Let's move into Europe instead.
Europe.
So the current headache, as Martin called it in the last quarterly in the last quarterly meeting. Headwinds in Europe currently. As you mentioned earlier as well in the episode, you've had to kind of pull your games from a lot of operators in different markets in Europe for various reasons. Can you give us again the oversight of the retraction that's happening in Europe and the kind of more and more complicated regulatory landscape that you're dealing with currently?
Yeah, a little bit. So the regulation situation is such that if you have a country and you have regulated gaming, then you give out licenses and all that sort of stuff. But still, the internet is a big, wide place, and so people inside your borders or outside your borders can log on to different casinos. And so what we've been asked to do is, if someone in a given country logs on to a casino, then make it so that they can't access our games. They can still access all the other companies' games, but they just don't want to be able to access Evolution games. And I suppose probably they could just block the URL, but for some reason they don't do that. And so we say, okay, and we say, hey Pierre, you got a casino, and if you have players try to log in this country, then they're not gonna be able to find our product. And so that's the nature of it. And if you were there and now you're not, and you're losing money, or your revenue goes down, and it's hard to be a regulator. It's a tricky position, and we deal with all of them, so we got a good view into it. But they have different North Stars, right? They want to keep the citizenry safe, and that's a good goal, and we share their goal there. I think there should be more transparency. Like, you talked about Deepfake live casino. Like, that should probably, regulators should probably insist, this is not live. It should be written right on the screen so everybody knows. But there's a lot of things like that about hidden house edge on things, or there's all kinds of things that I think aren't transparent enough in gaming. And some regulators are quite good about that. But if you have something that's so heavy-handed, say we wanted to regulate bubblegum in Malta or something, okay, you need to have a license to sell bubblegum, and you have to do all this stuff, and you have to carry these different insurances, and you have to be a license to supply it, and da-da-da-da. And as a result, bubblegum's $10 a pack. Well, people just buy their bubblegum elsewhere, right? And when it's the internet, you can certainly do that. And so as a result of that, the tax revenues become at risk in a jurisdiction where the regulation becomes too heavy-handed, because people can just log on to these other things. They're not shutting down these other casinos. They're just asking Evolution and probably other big suppliers too to turn off the product there for those casinos in those jurisdictions. So it's a dance. If you're too heavy-handed with the regulation, you put too much friction, then you push everybody off into unregulated, and then your state doesn't get any money. But you have to have it. And, we work with all the different regulators. Sometimes it's a little heavier, sometimes it's a little lighter. It's just got to be balanced.
Do you feel that by and large, do the regulators get it, so to say? If you look further into the future, do you think that the landscape will be even more complicated, or do you think eventually the regulators learn the point of the bubblegum, for example, that you mentioned? There has to be a balance there between the regulated side, so to say. If you look ahead, just knowing what you know about the regulators and so on, do you think what do you think happens from here?
I think it'll be the same. I know when you ask a question like that, you're supposed, everybody, you want to hear oh, it's going to get better, it's going to get worse. I think it's going to be the same in 5 years from now. You'll have some regulators that are quite mature, and they really get it. And you'll have others. You can have a regulator to even talk about a given regulator. That an administration turns over and you get new heads of it, or they'll be tackling new issues, or they get busy with new forms of gambling, like in the United States right now, all the rage is sweepstakes. And so that becomes a big distraction. And so maybe they get focused on that, and that becomes kind of their North Star. And so I think it'll be kind of a mixed bag. It'll be, because it'll be a mixed bag, it's going to be expensive and hard to be a supplier and an operator. But we're used to that. It's a big player's game. It's expensive.
Prediction markets have been in the whole world's hearts and minds in the last 12 or 18 months or so, since the change of the presidency, especially in the US. And I saw quite a few questions coming up whether Evolution maybe want to dabble into this very hybrid space. Is the prediction market space, are there any opportunities there for Evolution, and how do you think about the prediction markets wave that's sweeping over, especially the US right now, where you see some pretty dramatic turn of events here, where DraftKings, Flutter have lost 50% of their market cap because of investors' fear that this new product is going to completely disrupt these companies. Whereas Kalshi and Polar Market, particularly Kalshi now with a $22 billion valuation, is achieving a higher valuation than the biggest online casino in the world, which is Flutter, that is operating in 100 countries for 25 years.
Amazing.
With incredible cash flow, and Kalshi is literally worth more money if you ask Sequoia and A16Z and these big venture capitalists. So where does evolution fit into this picture? How do you translate this into what's happening in online gambling right now? Is there any opportunities there? Talk to me about prediction markets.
I mean, as a lover of all things gaming, it's sure fun to kind of see the disruption. I'm all for some good disruption, and we've seen disruption before. Before this, it was fantasy, which is where DraftKings and FanDuel were born, right? Disruption at one point was bingo machines, class 3. Historical horse racing is disruption. Riverboats at one point were disruption. Online gaming itself is a disruption to land-based gaming, and so on and so forth. So I'm all for a good disruptor. Where does evolution fit in? Right now, we don't. It's sports betting, effectively. 95% of it's sports betting. The other stuff is really fun. I find the other stuff quite interesting, and that's what kind of puts it in pop culture. It's like, what's going to happen with the Oscars or something like that. That's fun. So right now we don't fit in, and we're a supplier of games to casinos. So, what's going to be a prediction on prediction markets future is probably worthwhile. That's what they should put on Polymarket or Kalshi, is what will the Supreme Court say about...
Can see if we can find out.
You see if you can find it. I bet you can't. If I were CPO there, I wouldn't want to market on what the Supreme Court's going to rule on that subject.
Yeah, here we go. Law banning sports prediction markets enacted in 2026. What would you think?
Oh, there's a market for it?
There's a market for it, yeah.
Will there be a law in 2026 banning it?
Banning sports prediction markets enacted.
Federal law.
Sorry?
Federal.
Federal law. Banning sports prediction markets enacted in 2026.
8%.
Sorry?
8%.
8%. Well, you can put a prediction on that. It's currently 23%. It's actually jumped from 13 to 23% recently. It's a very illiquid market, though, should be noted. But that is the current state. Yeah, 23%.
All right. Well, I say 8, so I should.
Yeah. If you believe in your prediction, you know what you need to do.
But I can't bet on Polymarket. So I'm American.
You're American. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. So that's very interesting. So the more interesting question to me is, will it go to the Supreme Court? Because right now, different federal courts some have said yes, some have said no. The current head of the CFTC says, yeah, it's a go, but he works for Trump. So, when Trump is gone, there'll be a new person, and or maybe there'll be a new person, and that new person might interpret it the same way every other head of the CFTC has before. So it doesn't even need to go to the Supreme Court. If it goes to the Supreme Court, what will they say? I mean, it feels like sports betting. But I don't discount anything. I mean, like I said, we have slot machines all throughout the United States that aren't technically slot machines; they're bingo machines, or historical horse racing machines, right? So you don't count these companies out. I realize it's tempting to be dismissive of it, but the core product is fine. This isn't like the Deepfake stuff. Like, you can bet on the Lakers to win tonight just as well as you can on standard DraftKings as you can on DraftKings prediction markets, right? It's one and the same. Maybe you even get a little better odds on the prediction market. So then you say back to evolution. I mean, look, if this becomes the casino of the future, hey, Kalshi, Polymarket, DraftKings and FanDuel, we already know pretty well. And so, call us. We would love to be a partner if and when, there's a clear legal framework for it. We want to be everywhere. We're not going to sit on the sidelines and say, we think it's, like there's not a good home for us. We want to be where the action is. But right now it's just sports, and that's not our business.
Right. So, if we look forward now, I'm keen to hear you talk a little bit about what is the investment case currently for Evolution, and what type of shareholders should be considering Evolution in the future. Talk a little bit about that. Like, if you were to give a pitch to a group of investors, there's all type of investors here. So everything from the ones that are looking for kind of hedging opportunities, the ones that are looking for value stocks, the ones that are a bit more adventurous. What shareholder should be interested in looking at Evolution at the moment, and what is the investment case, would you say, for the coming future?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my personal style, and I think even the style of Evolution, is like we'll let our quarterly reports do the talking, and and in the long run, we're going to be judged on the free cash flow that we produce, and then we're going to distribute that back amongst the number of shares, which will now, as you noted, be much less. So, well. And I'm not saying the stock is a buy. I'm not saying it's a sell. I'm not saying it's cheap. I'm not even opining on it.
No investment.
So I'm going to reinterpret your question a little bit like, and I am a big show. It's big for me. It's a lot. I have a lot of my own money in Evolution. So I'm very interested in the subject. And when I think about why that excites me, online gaming in general has a tailwind. More and more people are learning about online gaming. There's not going to be less places in America, the world's biggest gambling market. Everybody loves to say, oh, Macau is the biggest market. The United States is the biggest market. We just break it into 50 markets. So there's not going to be less states over the next decade that are going to be having gaming. There's not going to be less jurisdictions. The idea that you can play on a phone in your pocket is still kind of a young idea. Like, there's a lot of people that don't even really know about online casino. Like, you're in the industry, I'm in the industry. We probably talk about it with people that are like at family events or something, and then you'd say, okay, well, we're the biggest supplier in online, and we've got quite a strong live business, which isn't going anywhere. It isn't going anywhere because we're protecting the roadmap, we're protecting the games, we're protecting the Evolution brand, we're making sure that we're entertaining players the most, we're offering high RTP games which players love. Players are our North Star, operators are our other North Star. We're taking care of operators, we're taking care of players, eventually the blows from the outside stop, and then you catch a tailwind. Like, guess what? If some new place or new jurisdictions opened up, and then that's exciting. What if, like in some future year, maybe you'll catch, I don't know, France and Florida, right? And all of a sudden, that's quite exciting. What about California? It could be a decade out, 2 decades out, maybe never. I don't know. So we have a natural tailwind. We are widening the space. We've got pole position. We're making the best games. We're increasingly using our strength in live to strengthen slots. On the slot side, we've recently broken it out completely from live, and it really has its own world. Yeah, and so we've taken, I don't know if he's the greatest mind in the slots universe today. He might be literally number one, but he's certainly in the team photo, right? And so we have this. We'll just say he is the smartest slot mind in the world. The smartest slot mind in the world are leading the entirety of the RNG division now, and he and his team are thinking very deeply about how do we build the brand. They built a great brand with No Limit City. I mean, players love that brand, and he's looking at NetEnt and their historical IP and asking the same question: how do we make NetEnt its very best version of itself, and Red Tiger, and then how do we feed Hasbro into that, and all that sort of stuff, and we've got a new brand we recently spun up quietly on the side, but it's called sneaky slots. And and that sort of sits somewhere between like Red Tiger and No Limit in terms of its edginess. So it's like halfway, you know. And so that is an exciting thing that it's getting a lot of focus, a lot of love. If you came to ICE, you saw that it was broken out physically on the same stand, but it has its own personality. We're able to recruit differently. People in that division have pride because it's a thing in evolution. It's like, yeah, I'm not in live. I'm in RNG. And so we acknowledge that. And like, no, I'm in RNG. We're in the cool division, you know. And people should have a lot of pride about it. You know, it's and so I'm very excited about all the RNG stuff. I'm very excited about their roadmap. And in the super end, that's the name of the game. Make games that players trust, players have fun, operators like and love, and you get to carry the day. Then we have no debt, and we're quite the cannibal these days, as we've recently announced. So we're going to cannibalize our own shares, and we're gonna you know, if you buy back 17% of the shares, then you know your earnings per share is 17% more, right? Is that how the math works? Or maybe not. If you gobble up half of them,
depends on where.
If you gobble up half of them, then your earnings per share doubles, right? Isn't that right?
It depends where how the liquidity goes, no? In the markets, or.
No, I'm just saying. We're doing math live on air. If you're making $100 in earnings, if you're making $100 in earnings, and that stays the same, and you have 100 shares, it's $1 per share.
Right.
If you buy back half your shares, you have 50 shares. Now your earnings is $2 per share. So you've doubled your earnings per share, right? That's what I'm saying.
Right.
So so the earnings per share growth, that'll be a bit of a tailwind for us, and then you know, there's the stuff that we're cooking up that we keep to ourselves. I'm not saying there's anything big coming, but we've come with some very cool stuff in the past. The strength of one-stop shop. You know, I'm very energized. I'm not trying to oversell the you use the term value investing. I think.
Yeah.
You know, I heard Warren Buffett asked about a value stock. Is this a value stock? Is that a value investing? And he said, you know, value investing is just any time a stock is cheap. It doesn't have anything to do with its growth rate or anything else, because that's how everybody uses it. But it really just has to do with your if you're overvalued or undervalued. And you know, I just want no shots from the outside. Let us make the games, get them out there. We'll buy back stock. We'll do it calm and quietly. We don't need to do it with a lot of fanfare. And you know, I think the stock will reflect it. The market will decide. But that enough energizes me.
Right. Final question for today, Todd. If you look 2 or 3 years into the future, can you bring us, say, 3 interesting predictions of where evolution will be, or perhaps the wider industry will be in 3 years' time that, say, investors should know, or just in general where you think the space is going, where the company is going, where the industry is going? Give us 3 interesting predictions from your side.
Well, the first prediction I'll submit is the one I've already made, and that is the Deepfake live will not be a thing. It'll be tried. It'll be out there, but it will not be a thing. Another is exactly what you said about AI slots is going to happen. It'll be so easy to make a weak slot, and it might look like a good slot, but how much do the top 50 slots make? You know, the top 100. And then how many of those were launched in the last 3 years? So, okay. So now here comes another 50,000 slots. So what'll happen, though, is it'll be alluring. And so small companies will get formed. They'll bang out a lot of AI slots. They'll go to clients and they'll go to operators and say, here, you want to buy it? And they'll say, you have to discount it heavily. I never heard of you. You have to discount it heavily, and you have to give me exclusive. So then they'll say, okay, fine, and they'll give it exclusive. And now that operator will take that and they'll promote it, and the game won't do well. They'll say, gosh, I gave this thing good placement, and then they'll do that again, and they'll do that again. They'll do it a few times, and they'll get tired of it, and then they're going to stop taking the fast-made AI slots, and I think that whole subject is going to go away. Now, maybe like in 2030 or something like that, who knows? Don't discount what AI will be able to do. Soon enough, it'll be your AI bot talking to my AI bot. And, so I predict that the AI slots, they'll probably, because it's such a sexy subject, a lot of money will be raised around that area, and a lot of money will be incinerated around that area. It's just so hard to make anything stick. It's really hard. And they're all going to have to compete against each other, right? So that's another problem. As for 3, I'll be slightly promotative, but I take the prediction subject very seriously. I think the GGR generated from our 2026 roadmap will be the most of any roadmap since the Crazy Time roadmap.
Wow,
yeah.
That's a big prediction.
Yeah, and we have some weaponry at our disposal. We have Hasbro. So we're doing, every year we kind of do like one big marquee game. And this year we've got 4 of them. We're about to launch Monopoly Roulette. It's like our 6th generation roulette with multiplier. We invented the space with Lightning Roulette. We know those players. We know that market. We have all the data. That game I'm very confident in. Then we have a game called Disco Balls, which is just, we took a bonus round that was very popular, and we said, what if the base game, the game you have to play most of the time, what if that just felt like a bonus round? Again, pure entertainment. That's coming. Then we have another one called Game Night, which is this wheel at an angle. It's the giant digi wheel with a ball internally that bounces around instead of having kind of a flapper at the top. And it's so delicious as it kind of moves up, and then the ball tumble. Or maybe it'll hold. And that game is called Game Night with 5 bonus rounds. It's got a Hungry Hippo bonus round. It's got a Battleship bonus round. It's got a Connect 4 bonus round. It's got Snakes and Ladder. It's got Rochambeau, or Rock, Paper, Scissors bonus round. It's 5 bonus round game. It's a monster. And then that'll be the biggest game ever launched by size and cost of build until about a month later when Monopoly Filthy Rich is going to launch. And that's kind of that would have been Crazy Time too if we didn't have Hasbro. And it's just, we've got this giant new studio with crazy high ceilings. We've never had that before. So we're really trying to create like scale matters in live casino. You can't fake it. If you look at Mr. Beast and like Beast Games and what he's doing, he uses scale. It's a weapon that other creators can't use, and he spends a lot of money to do it. So we're not just talking about trying to be an entertaining company. You need to have giant studios with super high ceilings, and we're using those ceilings in ways that we haven't been able to do because we've been confined to low ceiling buildings. And so that's really exciting, and so that's going to kind of open up a whole new world. So I'm quite excited, and I guess it's a prediction that our 2026 roadmap will generate the most GGR since our Crazy Time roadmap.
Exciting times ahead, Todd. And if I were to close today, I'd say, Evolution completely opened up and revolutionized the live category. You brought game shows into the space. We've seen the rise and rise in the last few years. The stock price have been battling. You had a lot of outside distractions, so to say. But at the end of the day, evolution is evolution.
Thanks.
And I can't wait to see the progress with the roadmap. Congratulations on the games that you're launching now. And it's always just the most exciting company to follow, Evo. That's why we always get a lot of attention when we do the things. So thank you so much, Todd, for being here today.
Thank you. Again. Thanks to our players. Thanks to our operators. And thanks to you for having me today.
Thank you, Todd. All right.
Great discussion. Yeah.